About a month ago, I had the privilege to have lunch with the Kelly family. They are an awesome family. And Mason was sharing with me some pictures, slides that he had taken when he had the opportunity to go with his grandparents, who are here tonight, to Israel. Now, there is a difference. I want to make this clear to them because they're Buckeyes, and we're hillbillies. The Holy Land is here in Kentucky. The trip that you took was to Israel, so I want to make sure that was clear. But Mason began to show me, I thought, man, that's great. You need to show this on a Sunday night. So we've asked him to do that, and so without further ado, I want you to welcome to the platform tonight Dr. Mason Kelly. Would you do that?
It'll just come in a second. All right. So when I was in 5th grade, I had the privilege to go to Israel in the springtime, and it was just a real big blessing to me, and it just really spoke to me, and it grew a relationship with me and the Lord. And I just am really excited to share that tonight with you guys. And I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. I mean, I know it's not easy missing your favorite show tonight, or the football game, or something like that. And I know it's not easy listening to a 12-year-old. And then I want to thank you, preacher, for just giving your service to me tonight. I mean, I know God judges you on every service that you do, and just to give this to me tonight was a blessing. And then I want to welcome any first-time visitors out there tonight. Just if I promise you, this is a one-time thing. Preacher will be here next Sunday, so. Thank you. All right. But in all seriousness, guys, when I was over in Israel, I just saw things that just you never see, and it just really spoke to me. And since I saw those things, I kept a journal, and every night I would write in my journal about things that I just saw and really spoke to me. And I go back to that journal tonight. Well, not just tonight, but I just go back to that journal whenever I want, and I look at it, and I just think how blessed I was to go. All right, the food. Now, if you guys don't know me, I may be a little guy, but I love food. Food is great. American food is all right, but I love cultural food. Whenever we eat with Preacher, he always picks the restaurant because I would go berserk on that. But my favorite thing in Israel to eat was a falafel. All right, imagine you're going to McDonald's, you're hungry, and instead of ordering your cheeseburger, you order a falafel. A falafel has your meat in it, your lettuce, and then your sauce. And then it's got kind of like a soft taco bread. And then my favorite addition to it is the French fries. They put the French fries in the falafel, and I love French fries. And then this slide is on Napoleon. And so many people say that God wasn't real, and that or Jesus wasn't a real person, but they never question if Napoleon attacked the Ottoman Turks here, or if Napoleon was even a real guy. And I refer to those kind of things. Mount Zion. Now, Mount Zion I thought was the coolest thing because first of all, like, that's in the millennium, that's where Jesus' capital is going to be. And when I was over in Israel, I got to have a little cousin, Warren, and he's just a blessing to me. I got to visit him on Thanksgiving and just to see how he's grown. But anyway, I got to plant a tree for him. And that tree may be there when the millennium comes. And it just was awesome. Here, when I went in this area, it's kind of hard to see in that picture, but there was all this talk about how Israel was stealing all this land from the Muslims. And how they were stealing all this land. And I looked out there, and I was so confused. I did not know what they were talking about. And I asked my granddad, what are they talking about? I don't see any land they're stealing. And he pointed out to me that building that arrow is pointing to, is they're just planning 160 apartments in that building. And it just reminded me on how so many people attack Israel, and so many people hate Israel. And you shouldn't listen to everything the news is saying. And even God made a promise to Abraham that they're going to own all of Israel. So that land is all theirs. Some of the places that I heard growing up here, one of the places is Simon the Tanner's house. And this is in Joppa, which is in Caesarea. And Caesarea was one of my favorite places because it was new, it was shiny, a lot of gold there. And we all know the story of how Cornelius did good works and how he prayed every day, and how an angel came and visited him and said that God's seen that and that he wants you to go send your servants to Simon the Tanner's house and to get Peter. And Peter had a vision also that day, and it's lunchtime probably, and he's probably hungry. And then an angel comes and tells him, go ahead and eat this food. And a blanket comes down from heaven. It's got all this different foods, like bacon, pork chops, sausage, all that good stuff. And he says, what are you talking about? I'm not allowed to eat that kind of stuff. And the angel said, it's all right because God says it's all right. And he says this about 2 more times after that. And then the angel tells him there's going to be a knock at the door, just go with them. Don't ask any questions. And so he goes, sure enough, there was a knock at the door, and they go to Cornelius' house. And he says to him, Cornelius says to Peter, so what are you going to tell us? And Peter's like, I don't know, I was just told to come with you guys. And so then sure enough, Peter realizes that Cornelius is a Roman soldier, and then he realizes that, so God wants this person saved. And Cornelius was so excited. He brought all his family here and everybody, and they all got saved. This is the Statue of Faith, and I'm really excited this spring because I'm going to get to go to Washington, D.C. Now I'm going to see the Lincoln Memorial. I'm going to see the Jefferson Monument. I'm going to see the George Washington Memorial. I'm going to see all these memorials and monuments. And just how we have the Abraham Lincoln Memorial, they have the Statue of Faith. And the cool thing about the Statue of Faith is it has 3 stories on it where the Jews show outstanding faith. One of the stories is the sacrifice of Isaac. And the sacrifice of Isaac, Abraham finally has a child, and he's over 100 years old. And God tells him, all right, go kill your child for me. And Abraham's like, all right, I'm going to go kill him. And so he's probably one of those moments where he takes his sword and he's getting ready to do it, and God says, oh no, don't do it. You were willing to do it for me. So I'm going to bless you with descendants more than the stars and more than the grain in the sand. And then you see Jacob's ladder, where Esau trades his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of soup, and how Jacob then tricks his dad into giving him the blessing, and how he runs and then lays on a rock and goes to sleep and has a dream of angels climbing this ladder, and how God makes him the same promise that he made Abraham. And then we have the fall of the wall in Jericho, where all the Jews are marching around Jericho, and even if the odds were impossible, this wall falls down because they had God. And this is interesting because before you go into the army, if you're an Israeli soldier, before you go to the army, you have to visit the Statue of Faith, because they're saying that anything's possible with God. And also toddlers will come here a lot. Like, we saw a lot of little kids here, and their parents would show them the stories. All right, so this is Mount Carmel. And Mount Carmel, this is so cool because Elijah defeats the 450 prophets of Baal here. And we know the story how Elijah goes away, and there's a bad king and queen, and then the Jews start worshiping all these different idols. And how then Elijah then comes and says, all right, let's have a showdown. Let's see whose God will provide. And so then, sure enough, the king agrees to it, and the 450 prophets of Baal, they're all coming up. And we had a football game. No, my parents were watching it, and so the 450 prophets of Baal kind of had the home field advantage. They had the nice altar and all that kind of stuff, the nice supplies. And Elijah kind of just had a small altar. And I'll go into more of that in a second. But the 450 prophets of Baal started first, and they were marching around, they were screaming, they were yelling, they even cut themselves because Elijah said, well, maybe your God's asleep. And so then finally they're tired out. They say, all right, Elijah, you can go now. And Elijah then says, all right, my turn. And back to the visitor side of things, Elijah was kind of like the visitor. He just took 12 stones and a straw. Those are the two probably most important things in his altar. And then he has some other things, but he then takes he tells these people to go down to this stream of water and go get me a barrel of water, and they go down, and we think this is a second or two, but you can't really see in that picture, but down there's a stream of water, and they would have had to go really far for this water, and then when they finally come up, he tells them to go do it 2 more times. And so I can just imagine Elijah's over there, and he's looking at the king, and the king's looking at him, and crickets are probably chirping, and just that kind of visual. And so when the people get the water, you got to remember it hasn't rained for 3 years, and so they're not only having to go that far, but they're probably having to look for this water. But eventually they do get the water. They come up, and Elijah pours it on the altar, and he then prays a simple prayer to God. Oh God, please help these Jews to remember you and love you again. And then a big giant fire comes down, and it comes down and it burns the 12 stones. And this is in 1 Kings 18:19 through 26, if you want to look that up. This is En Gedi. En Gedi was probably one of my favorite places I went to. And so some of you have public pools.